Hello everybody, this is Andrew, also known as NatureMan. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the different types of arborvitaes that there are in the commercial market, including trees and shrub forms. This cultivar is the Northern Spire, Thuja plicata. Thuja plicata is of the Western arborvitae, so a different species than your typical emerald green, which we will get to next. This has the large, kind of open, graceful foliage that you expect of the Western arborvitae, but still maintains a dense growth habit at the same time. Slow growing, only gets to about 15 feet tall by 4 feet wide at maturity. Excellent for screens, windbreaks, especially in small areas. This is the green giant arborvitae. While often considered a Thuja plicata or Western arborvitae, in actuality, it is a hybrid between Thuja plicata and Thuja standishii, which is the Japanese arborvitae. It is a hybrid between the two, but has the most closest appearance to the Western species, so a lot of people associate that. Similar hardiness, same with the Northern Spire, hardy in USDA zones 5 through 8. Very cold hardy, though in some harsher winters they can bronze or purple, but that is very normal. They'll green right back up in the spring. Green giant is meant for screening for large areas. So not for a small yard. These need to be spaced about 10 feet apart at a minimum, because they get over 25 feet wide. You don't want them to choke each other out and spread disease. So again, about 10 feet apart. You can do up to 15 feet if you want, but no more than 15 feet if you actually want them to touch. At ultimate maturity. These get about 50 to 60 feet tall by 20 to 30 feet wide. So again, you want that good spacing to give them room to grow. Vigorous grower, tolerates full sun, clay soil, cold winters. Once established, these can put on upwards of 3 feet per year. But there is an old expression: the first year they sleep, second year they creep, the third year they leap. What does that mean? First year, they're putting all their energy into getting the roots established, meaning you have to be watering it diligently, and it's not going to grow very much. Second year, it has partial root establishment, and it starts to grow. By the third year, it takes off like a rocket. So if you start with a small little plant, it may be many years before you get a screen. And this little guy here is the dwarf green giant, known as the leprechaun arborvitae. Now, unlike the Northern Spire or the other emerald green, which we will get to, leprechaun gets wider but stays shorter, so that's why they call it a dwarf green giant. It'll only get about 10 feet tall, but it gets 4 to 6 feet wide. So instead of being a skinny column, it's like a little Christmas tree. So it gets the same shape as the green giant, but not as tall. This is the world famous emerald green arborvitae. This is the one that's most commonly planted in the eastern United States. People make screens. They're better for smaller properties because they're very slow growing, very dense. Slowly, after about 20 years, about 15 foot tall, 4 to 5 feet wide. They have an average growth rate of about 3 to 5 inches per year once established. So very slow, great for a small area, a lot more dense than the plicata or hybrid of Western arborvitae. A lot more dense growing habit. Hardy in zones 4 through 9. A little bit more heat and cold tolerant. However, they are not as drought tolerant, so they need more water to get established, especially that first year in the ground. This is the Techny arborvitae, not of the Western species, but of the same species as the emerald green, Thuja occidentalis. It is not as dense as the emerald green. However, this gets to the same height. So again, if you don't want something that gets too tall, but you want it a little bit wider than the emerald green, then the Techny is the plant for you. Again, about 15 feet tall at maturity. This gets 6 to 8 feet wide. So instead of being a skinny column, it's more like a fat Christmas tree. Similar to the leprechaun, but again, it's of the eastern arborvitae, and will get a little bit bigger than the leprechaun. Again, great for screening if you want to get a little wider, but you don't want something super, super tall. Little guy is a dwarf form of the eastern arborvitae, Thuja occidentalis. This is the Hetz Midget. That's H-E-T-Z midget arborvitae. These may only put on 1 to 2 inches a year and stay about 3 foot tall and wide in 10 years. Naturally globular, requires very little, if any, pruning to maintain its shape. excellent in full sun to partial shade. This is the Golden Globe Arborvitae. Again, same family as the emerald green and Techny of the eastern Arborvitae, Thuja occidentalis. Golden Globe gets about 4 to 6 feet tall and wide in 10 years. However, can be kept 3 to 4 feet with yearly pruning. In fact, these came into the nursery already pre-sheared. You can do it once or even twice a year, maintain that shape. It's naturally globular, but you can keep it smaller by pruning. You can even see in the picture how it gets really, really big. Again, 3 to 4 feet is easily manageable with pruning. A natural glowing gold year-round. This is the Mr. Bowling Ball Arborvitae. A very fun name. It naturally is a round bowling ball shape, even without pruning. However, these do get about 4 to 6 feet tall and wide. In 10 years, you can keep these 3 to 4 feet tall and wide with pruning. However, maybe pruning once a year is necessary. Nothing heavy. A relatively slow grower, but again, 4 to 6 feet tall and wide can be expected in 10 years. Mr. Bowling Ball. You can make, just like the Hetz Midget or the Golden Globe, you can make a little row out of these or individual shrubs. Great boxwood alternatives. This is NatureMan signing off. Bye.